I've had a fortunate life, and I knew at a very early age that I could manifest things. It just been that way. And I've recently run across a situation where I was starting to question the relationship between manifesting in your heart and your head versus what physical action component you need to add.
Now, before you practice a thought that doesn't serve you, doesn't it make sense that he said, you may not have heard his opening words, he knew at a very early age that he could manifest things. And isn't it logical that if you have managed somehow, some way, to find vibrational alignment with something and practice the vibration of it, that it would manifest? Isn't it logical? But if you are not really acutely aware of what steps you took and the fact that you were on the vibrational wavelength, isn't it sort of logical that you might sometimes know that better than others?
Yes.
That the results of your focus could influence your belief or your expectation?
Yes. And what I would like to do is relate an incident that occurred, and I was a little unclear of whether I mismanifested or whether I was just needed to move on to something different.
Well, we would rather answer the question in a different way.
Okay.
Now, we'll play with you in whatever way you want to, but consider this. It's never a good idea to convince yourself that you mismanifested.
Okay.
Ever.
Ever.
Because it's one of two things. Either you focused upon something unwanted, or what you thought you wanted, you really didn't want. It happens to people all of the time. They get things they don't want, and then they deny being the creator of their own reality. But it's because there's a disconnect between what they're actually focused upon and what they want, which is the most common thing that goes wrong with people. Not really wrong, but it can cause some confusion. If you're focusing on something unwanted and it comes, we can see how you could convince yourself that you're not really the deliberate creator of your own experience because something that you didn't want came to you. So we always like to say, we didn't say that you were the deliberate creator of your own experience, but we do say that nothing comes that you haven't achieved a pretty substantial vibrational habit about. There's plenty of momentum going before the grid fills in with what you call manifestation. And it just doesn't serve you to tell that story in any other way.
Okay. Well, may I relate an experience, please?
Yes.
When I retired about 5 years ago, I decided that I needed a new adventure. And one fell in my lap, and it was gold mining in Nome, Alaska. And I got very excited about it, and I went up to Nome, Alaska, and we really didn't, 2 years didn't find any gold. So I came back, and we're doing the same thing in California, and I want to ensure that I am manifesting the gold this time. And it was supposed to have been there last time, but it just wasn't. And I was confused about my role in that, or whether it was just the fact that there physically really wasn't any there.
Well, there's gold everywhere.
Yes.
So the question is, what was going on in my vibration? Let's talk about it. How much gold mining have you done in your lifetime?
Off and on, just on a personal level, never on a business level.
And what is rewarding about mining for gold?
It's exciting and it's fun.
But what's rewarding about mining for gold?
Well, ultimately, one hopes to find enough gold to make it, in a business, to make it pay economically.
So it's the finding of the gold that makes the looking for the gold fun?
It's fun anyway for me. It's
well,
just
that's a really
fun.
important part of it, because if you're going for the adventure, in other words, is it possible that in your vortex was adventure more significantly than finding gold?
Probably.
Or was opportunity to go to a new place more significantly than gold?
Probably.
And so was the expedition a failure, or did it give you what you were really looking for?
It gave me a lot of what I was looking for, because I was really turned on and tuned in, if you will, about the challenge of finding new ways to mine gold. And so it was all very, very, and the excitement never disappeared, even though we didn't find gold. And I shouldn't say we didn't find it, we didn't find huge amounts.
What this conversation highlights is something that people grapple with quite a bit relative to this subject of deliberate creation, because it's unsatisfying to humans for us to say, well, there were nuggets there that you just didn't recognize, that were the true reason that you were looking, because people really want the manifestations that they think that they want. Mm-hmm. But we have to keep saying it, because we've seen the vortex, and we know that every single thing that every single person wants, whether it's gold or a pile of money or an experience or a relationship, a circumstance, an event, a material object, there isn't one thing that anyone wants that is for any other reason that they feel they will feel better in the having of it, you see. So we say whatever rings your bells and whatever causes you to focus is really a wonderful thing. Mm-hmm. But then how do you come away from an experience? We thought your setup for this question was really good. Did I get what I wanted? Or did I do something wrong? Did I miscreate? Was my vibration different than I thought it was? Or was I not a match to my vibration? And so you have to ask yourself the question, why did I go? What was it about? What was the reason for it? Mm-hmm. And what do you think the dominant reason for it was?
For that first time around, I think the dominant reason was just the adventure and the new experience and the learning.
When you said that you've been, what were your opening words to us?
That I have
always known
that I could manifest.
And so has that changed, or do you still always know that? Mm-hmm, do you feel that you have a stronger desire to find a significant vein of gold now than you did before those two trips, or less?
Probably more. Certainly more this time
so
than
the desire,
my first trip to
the
Nome.
desire is more acute.
Yes.
Is there anything else that's more? You said that you developed some patterns of greater ease or some patterns of greater skill. Tell us about...
Still doing that. And
And has that been stimulating?
Yes.
And to your advantage?
Yes.
So, is it over?
No.
So, you can't say, I didn't find gold, because you haven't stopped looking.
That's correct.
So, the question that we want to put to you is there momentum in the looking that is more now than it was before?
Yes.
Is that to your advantage or to your disadvantage?
That would be to my advantage.
Yeah. So what's the big hurry about anything?
Just let it come, basically.
If this time-space reality has the wherewithal to inspire a desire within you, this time-space reality has the wherewithal to deliver the goods. The question is, what's the path of least resistance to the manifestation? Well, combined in that question of what the path of least resistance is, am I on a hurry to the end of the journey? Is the journey what it's all about? Is the manifestation what I'm really always looking for? Or is the promised manifestation just my excuse for the journey? And what is the real treasure that I'm finding? Mm-hmm. We're not trying to talk you out of the gold. We think you should find all the gold you want.
I do too.
And we think that the grid should fill in with all of the inspiration and all of the inclination. And when you get a hit on something and you follow through on it and it doesn't yield something right away, the most important thing is not to stop and say, I misread the hit. or my intuition wasn't right, the most significant thing to say is, it isn't done. Because if you will keep reaching for the inspiration, you see, anytime, let's go back. You get the sense of this vortex that we're talking about, and the grid that when you are a vibrational match to it, then the impulses just occur to you. And we specifically used the word realization, because you're the one who will receive the vibration that you will interpret into the realization. And sometimes the realization is just where we'll go. Sometimes the realization is what occurs to you as you even look at the map. Sometimes the realization is where you actually dig, even within a very small area. In other words, there are all kinds of realizations that the source within you holds the answer to. Source knows exactly what you're looking for and exactly where what you're looking for is in relationship to where you stand. So your work, we love having this conversation in relationship to something so specific. Your work is to continually prepare yourself for the revelation of that path.
And then allow it to happen.
It has to happen. It has to happen. It can't not happen.
Okay.
It can't not happen.
Well, I felt in my heart that was the answer, but I like hearing it vocalized.
So then you more specifically choose the disc that you get on. In other words, it must happen is a really high-flying disc, and you can feel the resonance of that. Mm-hmm. When you feel discouraged, you just got to know that you've chosen another disc. And what do the words of those other discs sound like? Maybe it was pie in the sky. Maybe it never really was there. Maybe it was just an excuse I was using to get outside and breathe clean air. Barf, barf, barf. I don't want to get outside and breathe clean air. I want to do that, but I want to find gold too. Right. Don't let yourself settle for something less than what you want. Really don't let the circumstances guide your thoughts. Let your thoughts guide the circumstances. We just cannot be more clear. And almost the whole world would say, oh, don't go looking for stuff that you can't find. And we say, there's none of that. Wow. There is none of that. Everything that you have been inspired to want to find, there is a path that is findable, that is doable, that is seeable, that is realizable by you. We'd never give up. We'd be out there looking for anything that we wanted constantly. We would never stop looking for two reasons. Looking's fun and finding's funner.
And the good news is I really believe that.
Good.
Thank
Enough?
You. As always, a pleasure.